Okay, and obviously, as your experience as a football coach in the 1971 championship game, you brought a lot of leadership to to a team and a community at a time when there was so much tension and struggle. So, what are the ingredients that you use not only as a coach but just as a person to unite your players and as well as the community to support?
Well, I found I found one of the greatest things in life, particularly in coaching, is to live your life as though your team is your family, and you should never say anything to your family that you do not believe, and you should not believe anything that you're not willing to say to your family, because kids are going to replace us, and unless you play an adequate and a great role in their lives to create character, because we've reached a point in our lives today, and thanks to Dr. Martin Luther King's dreams and legacy, that we here in America are well on our way to the era where you are judged by the content of your character and not the color of your skin. And we got a long way to go. Our rituals of separativeness remain better developed than our rituals of togetherness. But we're making great progress, and to be a former football coach was probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, because I've always wanted to be a coach. I believe a coach with that whistle around his neck has authority, and it's his necktie, It's his tie, that it's his dress, it's his demeanor, and it means something. It means that he's a leader. He's a person that people want to follow. And I've always believed in the little poem called How Careful I Must Be Because a Little Fella Watches Me. And that's an important philosophy that you carry throughout your own life. How careful you must be. A little fella watches me. Hope I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Oh, this is my wife for 49 years. Sorry, that's my niece. I told her if we were gonna be married 40 years, I was gonna trade her in for 220s, and I can't get rid of her. There's too much love in there.
Yeah, and also can you talk about before your season started? Obviously, in the movie they depict the training camp that you guys had, and just talk about the importance of the trust that you had built into your players during that time.
Well, at first there was no trust.
Right.
Obviously,
how it evolved over time.
Well, if you can imagine that these kids that I coach were forced to integrate. When I say forced to integrate, Virginia has long been a state known as the massive resistant state to integration. And when the school system of Alexandria decided, with pressure from the federal government, that they must integrate their schools once and for all, or you're not going to get federal aid of $600 million a year or something. And so they decided to consolidate 3 high schools into one. Okay? They made one of the high schools, the all-white school, they made that one a 9th and 10th grade school. The all-black school, they made that a 9th and 10th grade school. And the school in the middle called T.C. Williams, they made that 11th and 12th grade school. Now, you guys are very young kids and young students, and I just want you to use your imagination that you are in your own historical, traditional high school that your parents went to, and that's a part of your family structure, and you look forward to graduating from this school, and all of a sudden in 90 days the school board says you've got to become a Titan. Well, over my dead body. Who's going to be the music teacher? Who's going to be the band director? Am I going to be in the student council? I was a president of student council at this school, and now I'm dumped into a pot, and I may not be elected to just be on the board or something, So you had all of these factions pulling against each other. Now, the straw that breaks the camel's back is he named me, a little-known black coach, head coach of this huge consolidated school, over a legendary white coach with a steadfast following and a popularity second to none. and not only in the state of Virginia, but throughout the country. This man was a dynamic human being. But you must understand that during the days of integration, when they integrated the schools, the white coach invariably became the head coach of the integrated school. It didn't make any difference whether he was a winning coach or whether he had great character or a legacy in the community or whether he was involved in community activities, but he was white. And this is one of the things that was like one of the greatest sore thumbs about integration was that good black coaches rarely, if ever, were given a chance. Therefore, they were judged guilty of a crime based on the color of their skin and not the content of their character. So Alexandria broke the mold in what was taking place throughout the country. Alexandria named me head coach of over this legendary white coach. So now you can imagine, from the standpoint of young kids that's forced to, you hated each other. You were fierce rivalries, and all of a sudden you got to wear that uniform of the team that you hated. You got to carry that name of the team that you hated. Each of these schools had their distinct history, and they had their own names, and they had their own colors. Now you're going to have to put your differences aside and become a Titan. Well, over my dead body. So amidst all of that controversy, Coach Yost and I, we found a way to put our differences aside. We found a way to celebrate our differences rather than allow our differences to become a problem to be solved on that football team, because we had a mission. We had a mission to mold a group of angry and unfocused boys into a dynamic winning football team. We obviously had talent. 3 high schools, 3 full, complete high school teams were merged together. We had all the talent in the world. But if you cannot mold that talent will do you no good. When you find that there is division within the ranks of your team, that talent is not going to do you any good. Those kids didn't like one another. They didn't like one another, number one, because they were different races. Kids had never been within touching distance of a kid of another race. Now all of a sudden, school board, you forcing me to sit beside a black kid, a white kid I've never been within arm distance of in my life. What am I going to do? I don't want to be here in this school. I want to stay in my own school. But the time had come. So with all of that controversy, and keep in mind, none of you, very few, if any of you know anything about the turbulent years of the late 60s, and she does. Ellen knows about the demonstrations that people were involved in against this most unpopular war, the Vietnam War. Young people were demonstrating. They called them hippies. They were the most brilliant people in the world who stood up and spoke out against this war. We had the terrible Pentagon Papers, the emergence of the Black Panthers. We had integration of schools. We had busing to achieve integration when people didn't want it. You see, it was okay to bus black kids, from their ghetto across town to the white school, but when they started busing the white kids down to the ghetto, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So all of these things were taking place. These were the times that created the Titans. All of these turbulent years. But when Coach Yost and I decided to put our differences aside so that we could mold this group of angry and unfocused boys into a good football team. And we did. Because people said, black and white, it will never work. Okay? We made it work. We made it work because we celebrated our differences. We did not allow our differences to become a problem on that football team. We demanded that you respect each other. And I said to them with all of the emotions that God could build in me that I don't care if you